Alhamdulillah, great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has given me and you the ability and the faith to be in the mosque, to be in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On this blessed night of the month of Ramadan, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a source of guidance for all of us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering one of the means of our entry into Jannah. The first thing I want to talk about tonight is the relevance of Quranic education, especially in our times. Before I talk about Quran, before I talk about different verses of the Quran, let's talk about the relevance of Quranic education in our time. And this is something that I have repeated a number of times in the past, and I have no hesitation in repeating it again. Because I think that it's quite relevant everywhere I go. I go Pakistan, it's relevant. I come here, it's relevant. I go to Dubai, it's relevant. Everywhere I go, it's quite relevant. Actually, as a fact of the matter, I was talking to a brother last night about the same subject. So inshallah, I will share it with you again. By the time I was graduating out of my high school, and I have done a year and a half of my Islamic studies in an Islamic university, I have developed these 4 attitudes towards Islam. And I don't expect you to remember anything else, but I do need you to remember these 4 attitudes that I developed towards Islam, because they are very, very important. Alhamdulillah, I was born in a Muslim family. I was raised in a Muslim family. I have attended enough lectures and khutbahs in the mosque. Wherever my father would take me, I would go all my life. All my life. I was not super religious at that time, but at the same time, at least I was going for Jummah. At least I was listening to all of these lectures and khutbah. At least I knew how Imam looks like, how a Sheikh looks like. And the exposure that I had, as a result of that exposure, I developed 4 attitudes towards Islam. And by the way, most of my education was in Pakistan. Either it was in Jamia Ashafia, which was an Islamic university and still an Islamic university, or it was in Punjab University, which is a secular university. So all of my education was in Pakistan, in a Muslim country, among the Muslims. So the exposure that I had of Islam, it developed 4 attitudes. I had developed 4 attitudes towards Islam. Number 1, the first attitude that I developed is that, whenever I hear anybody talking about Islam, they kept telling me that the really good people, they lived a long time ago. And really, really bad people, if you want to find them, where do you find them? Right now. So we are really messed up people. And really good people lived a long time ago. And the golden days of Islam are not ahead of us, they are behind us. Everything good about Islam is already done in the past. It's a part of our history. Actually, I was constantly made to feel bad that why I didn't live at that time. And this is not some kind of propaganda that is coming from some non-Muslims, or from some evangelical preacher, or from some philosophy professor. This was my own assumption about my own religion, based on the things that I have heard from the pulpit, from the member, over and over and over and over again. That the really good people lived a long time ago, all of us are terrible people, Islam belongs to an ancient time, and if you want to bring good old days back, then you have to act and live like it's 1400 years ago. And you cannot acknowledge that you are living in 2016 or 1998 or whatever. You have to imagine that you are living in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You should actually feel guilty that you don't have a camel parked outside. You have your cars parked outside. You should actually feel guilty about it. So, in a nutshell, the first attitude that I developed towards Islam is that it is outdated. It belongs in ancient times. The second attitude that I developed towards Islam, that this religion, it's pretty harsh. It's pretty tough. There are lots of ways in Islam that can lead you to Jahannam. A lot. And the rules of Islam on top of that, they seem to be quite unfair. How come a woman's testimony is only half than that of a man? How come a man can marry 4 women? How come you cut a hand of a thief? What is that? Why Quran is saying such kind of stuff? Why Prophet Muhammad is saying such kind of stuff? And there are lots of things that when you hear them first, you are like, am I the only one who is bothered by all of this stuff? Or is it normal? But you can't say it. You just say to yourself, just believe in it, don't question it. So I was developing it inside. I never said it. Because you know what will happen if you say it. Especially if you're a Pakistani and you're living in Pakistan, you know what will happen if you say it. So you don't say it. You just develop it inside. So this was my second attitude towards Islam. That it's a very harsh religion and it's unfair as well. The third attitude that I developed towards Islam is that, you know what? I will still give it a shot. I know it's unfair. I know it's outdated. I know it's very harsh. But still I will try. I will try to become a good Muslim. But then what will happen? I kept getting told that it doesn't matter how much you pray, probably your prayers are not good enough. The wuzu that you just did, probably you have made 80,000 mistakes in that wuzu that lasted only for 30 seconds because you ate too much in your iftar. The hajj that you just did, probably didn't even count. The Taraweeh prayers that you are doing here, probably didn't even count. As a matter of fact, you can grow a beard, you can wear a religious garment, you can put on a hijab if you are a sister, but still there are chances that you are a munafiq. You are a hypocrite. In other words, no matter how hard I try, whatever I do, chances are that this is not good enough. So this was my third attitude that I developed towards Islam, that Islam is a battle that I can never ever win. I can never ever win. And you know, I know there are some people who are going into Jannat, but look at you. I mean, you and Jannat, come on. You will never go to Jannat. This was, and I was, there are so many times when people are telling me stories about the people of the past, that how religious they were, how amazing they were, and they are always practicing Islam, and they are always in the mosque, yet they were afraid that this is not good enough. And I was like, forget about me, yaar. If there are people never leaving the mosque, practicing Islam all the time, and they are afraid of end up in the fire of Jahannam, then who are me? Who is, I mean, who? I'm talking about the Olympic champions of spirituality, right? Then forget about me. Forget about me. I'm pretty much guaranteed Jahannam. So that was the third attitude that I developed towards Islam. So what was the first attitude? That it's outdated. Number two, it's unfair and harsh. And number three, that I can never ever win. I can never ever win. I'm willing to make all of these sacrifices, even though I know that my religion is harsh, even though I know that my religion is outdated, it's unfair, still I'm willing to make all of these kinds of sacrifices, but still I'm not making it into Jannah. I'm not making it into Jannah. And then I developed this fourth attitude. And what was my fourth attitude? What's the point? What's the point? If this religion is already outdated, and if it's already harsh, and if it's already, unfair, and I'm already a terrible person, and Allah is already angry with me, so what's the point? Why should I make my life more miserable? Why should I even bother about this religion? I will not go and tell my parents that I'm not a Muslim anymore, and I don't want to be a Muslim anymore, because this might freak them out. I will still pray, but at the same time, whatever, dude, I don't care about Islam. Let me live my life. This was the fourth attitude. These were the four conclusions that I had in my mind about my religion. Now the time that we are living in is much later than my time. And by the way, these four attitudes that I developed, I didn't develop them because I watched some YouTube video. I didn't develop them because some evangelical preacher came to me and he preached them to me. And I didn't develop them because, a professor, a philosophy professor came up to me and he messed my head up. No. The things that I felt them because of Muslims. The things that I felt, they are coming from Muslims. They are not coming from non-Muslims. They are coming from Muslims. So these four attitudes that I developed towards Islam. When you talk about the relevance of Quranic education in our times, a lot of what you have heard about Islam, forget it's coming from the Muslims. The things that are coming from Muslims have not got much better, so the problem still remains there. But on top of that, an extra layer is what the non-Muslims are talking about Islam. On top of that, there are people who are like me, my old self, who had the same four attitudes, but now they have become bold. And now they are saying, we're not going to stay quiet about this. We're going to talk about this. We're going to write books about this. We're going to go on talk shows. We're going to be interviewed on BBC. We're going to give a lecture in a university about this. So they are talking and they are becoming popular. And when they talk about it, it reminds me of myself. A lot of you other Muslim brothers, when you listen to them, you're like, Mulana, have you heard them? Astaghfirullah. And I'm like, it's quite nostalgic, tripping down my memory lane. When they talk, I don't feel angry at them because it is me. It's not something else. It's not someone else. It is me. So today when you talk about the relevance of Quranic education, today you talk about understanding Quran, then first you have to understand these 4 attitudes. At first, you have to understand these 4 attitudes. And alhamdulillah, in the last few years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the opportunity to meet some really incredible people all over the world. Some amazing people, amazing scholars, intellectuals, academics, but more importantly, I met some wonderful young people all over the world. I have traveled and I have met Muslim youth. And I have met Muslim youth everywhere. And whenever I got questions, comments, emails, whenever I got any kind of questions, guess what they all boil down to? All of them are related to what? These 4 attitudes. So it reinforces in me more and more and more that I'm not the only one, or at least I was not the only one. As a matter of fact, the population of old me has increased exponentially. It has increased exponentially. And I'm not surprised if some of you brothers who are sitting in the audience, you come up to me and say, Mulana, we can relate to this as well. We feel the same. And I'm not telling you that I have the answer to all of your questions. I have a solution to all of your problems. Maybe you don't even consider it a problem. Maybe you don't. You don't see it as a problem. But what I'm trying to say is that at least we need to acknowledge the reality of where our Muslim Ummah stands today. We need to acknowledge that reality. And when I say the Muslim Ummah, I mean the young people of the Muslim Ummah. Because the population of the Muslim world is below the age of 35. The entire population of the Muslim world. It's below the age of 35. So the young people of this Ummah, they make up this entire Ummah. And our young people, they are going through crisis. They are. They are going through this internal crisis, which is becoming an external crisis. So what are we supposed to do about this? What is the role of Quranic education in our times? If you really want to know the answer, come back tomorrow, inshallah. I will share with you, inshallah.